Hello, welcome, Well Fam, to another special episode of Project Showcase. I am here with the co-founder and CEO of TRLab, Audrey Wu, and with UK-based artist Brendan Dawes. He uses generative processes involving data, machine learning, and algorithms to create interactive installations and experiences, data visualizations, and motion graphics. And he has done a collaboration with TRLab. He's doing a drop on October 29th called Ultimate Services for Your Happiness. And I'm really excited to hear all about the process behind this. And we will also be discussing the whitelist process with TRLab, which is really cool. There's some secret codes involved. So listen carefully during this AMA because the third part of the code is going to be revealed. So welcome, everybody.
Hi, Heather.
Hello. So, Brendan, just really quick before we get into what's going on with TRLab, I wanted to congratulate you on the Sotheby's auction. And it's one of our first vault sales. And so I'm excited to have you here. It's a little piece of whale history and metaverse history. So how do you feel about Sotheby's coming into this space and bridging the gap between traditional and crypto art?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think Sotheby's is such a household name. My mum knows Sotheby's, so it's a big deal when I say I'm going to be on Sotheby's. So yeah, I think it's like my third time now with them. And the vault, the whale shark thing was an historic moment for sure. Whale sharks never sold anything from the vault, so to be included in those three pieces that went up was just incredible. So I really want to thank Whale Shark and the community for doing that. It's really lovely, and and I hope the new owner loves it as much as myself and Whale Shark loved it.
Yeah, it's a little bittersweet letting that piece go. But I know that we've got a lot more from you in the vault, thankfully. So, but it's a little hard parting with those pieces that we've come to love and that have been in our world for a little over, well, Whale Shark's world since 2019. So,
sure.
So I'm really excited to talk about the ultimate services for your happiness and what the process and inspiration was behind this. So I'm going to pull that up while you talk about this. Hold on. And your inspiration behind it.
Well, it's all down to Audrey and team. They contacted me. Hi, Audrey. They contacted me whilst I was on holiday in the south of France, actually, and trying to find some sunshine. And I had an email from Audrey and the team, and they told me about TRLab and this amazing project that was based on the book AI 2041, which is a fantastic read. I have a physical copy. Do you remember how books used to look? Look. Remember these?
Actually, let me pull that up. That book actually looks quite nice.
Yeah, no, it's cool. But I kind of hate reading things on screen, So, So yeah, I like physical things, but so yeah, and they told me about this thing, and then they were going to have so many artists do some work inspired by, one of the chapters. So I read it, and the one that kind of spoke to me, I mean, they're all great, but I'm always fascinated by happiness, what happiness is, how we achieve happiness, that kind of thing. I've done work in the past which is about happiness, made a happiness machine.
Yes.
And so I got to work on this piece, and really honoured to be the first TRLab artist for this particular project. And so it's really about it's a piece that has many things in it, I guess. It's my interpretation of how an AI is trying to work out what is happiness. So what I did, I scraped a load of social media images that were hashtagged with words, like my happy life, that kind of thing. and then did a latent space walkthrough using an AI, and then used that to help generate the stuff that you see. So I think it's 30-second long. And so there's very organic lines that represent humanness. But if you notice, there's also grid-like lines. And they are, this dichotomy between the machine and humanness. Can a machine truly reveal or understand what happiness is? And not just do that, but also provide happiness. So that's the relationship that you see going on in the imagery. And then there's, these little circles. So it kind of, the visual grammar is kind of electronic circuitry. I once worked in an electronics factory for 8 years before I got into this field many years ago. So that's also in there, kind of part of me. And I making electronic circuits for 8 years. So yeah, it's all in there, and and people hopefully read into it and see other things that I didn't even imagine. So, and then there's a one of one, the video which you're seeing now, and then there's these happiness mainframes, which is a limited edition of 60. Each one is a unique frame from that video. So it's kind of like 60 one of ones that are still images. So rather than do an edition of so many that are all the same, me and the team decided we'll do, 60 one of ones.
60 one of ones.
Yeah.
I like that. It gives people a chance to own something rare and beautiful. And yeah, there's something about this piece that, I feel like provided with happiness, I could just gaze at this. It's just it's mesmerizing. Like, a lot of your work is mesmerizing and evocative to me. And like, I don't know why I'm feeling things when I'm looking at these like abstract shapes, but they just, I don't know, like I wanted to know, like, what are these circles representing? Like, what is that data point when it's popping up?
Well, for me, it's it represents something analyzing, the input. If the chapter of the book talks about how it analyzes on the island that this Russian goes to see if he can reach happiness. It's constantly analyzing him through cameras, through sensors, through lots and lots of things. So for me, those little dots that are constantly changing, that's what that represents. But they're from this visual grammar of electronic circuits as well. So there's a suggestion that it's machine-like, and it's trying to understand, what it is to be happy, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's all these, metaphors going on in the piece.
It's interesting, like, to hear what your explanation of the circles there, and I was like, oh, it's like happiness glitter, like it feels like there's like fairy dust being sprinkled there, and that was how I was interpreting that.
Well, even though I think people bring their own interpretation to it, and I really love that. The other thing as well is I'm a big Gustav Klimt fan, so you can see kind of Gustav Klimt type, suggestion, or whether subconsciously or not, that's in there as well. So it starts off as one thing, but I think that's what I love, that the viewer, through interaction, if you're viewing the piece, then brings something else into it. Like, you saw that, and that's not wrong. That's that's another interpretation of it, which is fantastic.
And so this specific piece was inspired by the story of Isle of Happiness from the AI 2041 book. Can you talk a little bit about that story?
Yeah, well, it's about a Russian called Victor, who's one of the wealthiest people in the world, but he's unhappy. And the AI even works out that within 2 years, he might not be around anymore. So which is quite startling. He's got all this wealth, but ultimately, once you've got all these things, it's like, which a lot of people feel, I think, it's like, it's not brought me happiness. So he goes to this island on this invitation to this mysterious invitation to see if they can find happiness for him. I mean, I don't want to spoil the story, but then things happen, and so it's. But what's great about the book is that after each chapter is also the analysis of, okay, where are we with this technology? How near are we to doing this? And so it's really a great format, the whole book. So I think Audrey and the team, choosing this work to actually create, works from different artists, I think is just a great, leaping off point.
Yeah, I'm hearing you talk about how the format is, and that they have these stories, and that they actually have a discussion after the story about, what are we doing with this technology? How can we get ahead of the things that might happen that we weren't expecting or hoping that wouldn't happen, that go awry with artificial intelligence. Audrey, I wanted to know, how do you, what was the curation process for this? Like, because this is such a heavy, I think, concept too, but it allows for a huge, vast, variety of like what people can pull from this. So I was wondering how you were able to select just a handful of artists for this.
For sure. I mean, we were very lucky to have Kai-Fu and Stanley's team approach us. And at that time, TRLab, we were thinking about what it meant for us to be a curated platform, and what we wanted to do after our first project with Tai, what would be a continuous exploration of like art for the new generation. And when Kai-Fu and Stanley's team approached us, it was like the perfect mix. I really love AI 2041 because I think AI is, as you said, such a complex subject, and it's also a very scary thing to think about and talk about. And I feel like AI 2041 does a really great job distilling it in really interesting fictional ways, but then also allowing people to kind of get bites of different aspects of AI, both good and bad. And so we had to think about it with them, and we were like, we think this would be amazing working with digital artists in particular, who are exploring algorithms on their own, who are also, aside from being amazing artists, amazing coders, people who understand technology and people who live with technology. So we actually reached out to Wellshark, who kindly introduced us to Brendan because we've been loving his work. And a lot of the artists that we do have on our lineup, some of which are still unrevealed yet, came through our friends and partners, where we went to them saying that we were looking for artists who were interested in exploring AI, and artists who were particularly interested in exploring algorithms in some ways. So feeling so grateful that we have Brendan with us, but we also have artists like Nest Graphics and Rafiq Anadol and Joshua Davis PlayStation. It's really just, I think, people who have pioneered art and think and had people think about generative art in very different ways. So we didn't necessarily approach the curation with this is the exact artwork that we want. It was more that we want to leave that creativity up to the artists. And I think Brendan could tell you, like, we were like, do anything you want with the book. Like, you could take inspiration from one sentence, you could take a chapter, very literally. It was all up to you. And so it was more about, leaving the freedom ultimately up to the artist, because we saw us as a facilitator in bringing this project together, but ultimately it was the artist's playground, and with the author's book as inspiration.
I love that you are giving the artist freedom to explore this concept without any rules. So I also wanted to know, I feel like this type of art really lends itself to installation art and immersive experiences, which Brendan is so well versed at and talented at creating these worlds. Have you considered creating either VR spaces or perhaps real life spaces with the art that's coming from this curation?
So unfortunately, with the timing of the curation, and also with we actually did explore having some sort of immersive space in China, but with everything going on and with COVID, we thought that it would be better to get the works out there and have people experience it digitally. But TRLab on the whole, we're definitely exploring ways to kind of bring online, offline, and having digital art touch the physical world in different ways. So please stay tuned for that, because we have a couple things coming up next year that would be really interesting.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I can't wait for this pandemic stuff to be over, because I'm a very tactile person, and I love those types of events where you get to feel like you're in a completely different world and transported somewhere else. And you know, VR does help, but there's something about actually being somewhere and feeling everybody else's vibration and their enjoyment of what's happening and sensing their sense of wonder. It's like a nice feedback loop that I hope that we get to have
absolutely.
that soon. So did you want to talk a little bit about the whitelist process?
For sure.
Yeah.
So we thought really long and hard about the whitelist, and we were, very lucky to have early community members from TRLab, who are TRLab's early collectors, come on to help us. And we've really chosen to conduct the drop in a way that, rewards our earliest supporters, but also facilitates active engagement from the general community. More than that, we wanted to avoid bots, and we want to avoid senseless waste of ETH and gas wars, because there's been so many amazing drops that I feel like have just completely gone ruined because of now people coming in with malicious intents. So we wanted to make sure that the artwork was going to people who really loved the art and was collecting art for the sake of the art, rather than for any other reason.
To flip it or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's also why, for our general public whitelist process, we have a sort of secret code that is unlocked throughout the week with, something on the artist's Twitter, something that's hidden within our Discord, and last but not least, something that will be released during the AMA today. So everyone, if you miss what Heather said in the beginning, please do stay tuned, because I think Brendan and I may be slipping the hint in anytime soon.
I think somebody in the chat has already even, I don't know, they just said it in passing. I'm not going to spoil it, but I just think it's funny that people are already kind of on the up and up. I'm like, how? Or maybe they're not. They're just commenting on something. It's really hard to say if they're being cheeky or it's just a coincidence like we had before we went live. So I don't know. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about how you are protecting, like what's the mechanism that you have in place to protect us from bots or these nefarious players?
Yeah, for sure. So we examined a couple different Raffle processes and ultimately ended up choosing Gleam because it asks for people to be connecting their Discord and Twitter accounts, and then it also has a couple anti-fraud measures with, like, if it's a throwaway Twitter account, it's not going to let it participate. And then afterwards, the Raffle selection process is actually something that our great tech team developed. It's something that's completely on chain, where we will be making sure that the process is fair and transparent. But ultimately, I think what we want to do, and this is something that we did not do for our previous drop, is to have it be a raffle, and for the number of people who get into the raffle be the exact number of people, exact number of limited editions. So this time around for Brendan, with the 60 limited editions, there'll just be 60 people who will ultimately be successful with the whitelist raffle. However, for these 60 people, they will have 24 hours to mint on Thursday, a day before it opens up to the public, and they can kind of go anytime they want. There's no sense of like rushing and needing to mint at the exact time of opening.
And which platform is this minting on? Right on to TRLab?
It's on TRLab platform.
Stupid question. Yes.
TRLab.com.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to share that link again for those who don't have it. There's the whitelist process in this link, as well as the direct link to Ultimate Services for Your Happiness, which is going to be going live on October 29th at exactly, oh no, it does not say exactly what time, but the starting bid will be at half an ETH. So stay tuned. During this conversation, we'll be dropping the hint. It'll either come from Brendan or Audrey.
or both.
Or both.
Yeah.
I was curious, is the happiness machine piece that you created in 2012, was there any inspiration from that brought into this piece, or at least in how you pulled data?
Well, weirdly, it was from another book, which is a coincidence, actually. Ray Bradbury, who's known for being, amazing science fiction author, Fahrenheit 451, one of my favorite books. But he also wrote a book called Dandelion Wine, and it was about his childhood upbringing. And in the book, he says that one day he saw his neighbor, and his neighbor was always in the garage, messing with things. And he went up to him one day and said, "What are you doing in there?" And his neighbor turns around and says, "I'm making a happiness machine." So that phrase kind of stuck with me, and I thought, wow, what an amazing thing. It doesn't really explain what it is, but what an amazing thing to make a machine that communicates or generates happiness or something. So from that, I made this physical machine that was a tiny printer, like a receipt printer. It was connected to the internet, and you pressed a button, there it is, and it went out on the internet and found anyone talking about happiness on blogs and things like that, and it printed out that sentence, and it gave you a receipt of happiness. And it's tiny. You can hold it in your hand. If it was on an A4 sheet of paper, that's just a fax machine. No one ever, got cared about that kind of thing. But the physical dimensions of it are really important, because when you hold things in your hand, you feel closer to them. So
absolutely.
So then it ended up. I made this for myself, and it ended up being in museums and galleries and various other things like that. Got a lot of press at the time. It was famous for like a week on the internet, which is quite a long time on the internet.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've always been, I guess the correlation is that I've always liked, what is happiness, that kind of thing. And for me, happiness for me is often the simple things in life. Probably like many people here listening to this, it's I love going for walks with my wife and sitting in the park on the park bench, and that's happy for me. It's I love sitting there at the computer and making things. That's happy too. But I think, and buying, the ability to have a nice thing or that kind of thing is fine, but they're more kind of like dopamine hits, that
it's very fleeting.
They're kind of transient, the fleeting, So you realize, and I think this is this is evident in the story of the book, in the story from the book is, that's what you have this guy who's like incredibly wealthy, but he's still not happy. So yeah, I'm just fascinated by that human condition. So and so maybe this is the second part of the trilogy or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, good things come in threes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I keep smiling because I see that Whale Shark is here in stream text, and
cool.
he said one of our community members asked Whale Shark, "Do you have your Brendan pajamas on?" And he said, "Yes, I'm sipping warm milk out of my Brendan coffee mug." And he said, "Brendan's Mac is a happiness machine," which is true.
Yes.
Generates a lot of art that creates happiness.
Well, you know what it is as well. It's the big driver for me making work is I want there to be an emotional reaction. It doesn't have to be happiness. It doesn't. But it also can be hate. If people hate my work, I think if you make work that everyone loves, then it's probably not good enough. You do need that people who like, I can't stand his work or whatever. So someone once said to me, if no one's getting hurt, then it's not cutting edge, which I always like. So yeah, that emotional connection is kind of kind of key. You know, whether that, I had someone say, someone told me the other day that they were watching a piece of work and they burst into tears. You know, it's like, I thought, and I was like really pleased, which I'm not interested in making people cry.
I understand that though, but there's something like in some of your pieces, like I, for some reason, feel a sense of wanting to cry, like a sense of wanting to release for some reason, and I can't understand. Like there's like this sense of bittersweetness or something that comes over me. I don't know.
I think one of the things is, you know, a lot of the stuff that I watch is quite, I like kind of, I'm currently watching Too Old to Die Young on Amazon Prime, which is directed by the guy who did Drive. He was a genius. And but it's really grim and it's, you know, unsettling. So I kind of watched, you know, so I've got this dichotomy of a lot lovely life, but I'm also watching, like, you know, these extremes of grimness and, you know, so there's all that in the mix, you know, that all, you know, I encourage people when they're making work to, you know, look outside their own field. Look, you know, it's, you know, that kind of thing, because you get more input. The greater the input, the better the output. So, you know, I don't go around looking at work made from data. I just don't. You know, my inspiration is everything but, you know, from nature. You know, that kind of thing. So I'm kind of like, you know, if a superhero, you know, Superman, you know, that I've got that's my kind of super, like a, you know, a teenage mutant ninja turtle or something. You know, it's kind of like, you know, trying to do that, of like trying to gather all this stuff and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, people have an idea of what digital art or generative art might be, and you've kind of smashed that perception because there's so much that is organic and human about what you create in your work. And I just think that that's what makes people like me want to cry when I look at it. Whereas, you know, somebody else might be using data as a, because I see what you're doing is like you use data and algorithms as a tool. It's just a medium. It's not the inspiration. So I think that that's the distinction with what you do and what other people might be doing with this type of work. But even with all these, I'm curious, like how much of your work is like a happy accident versus like what can you control when you're using these data points as the medium?
Well, I always describe it as you're creating a playground. You know, some people might say system. I say system sometimes, but you know, a playground is a slightly nicer word. So, and within that playground, I'm creating rules that these things can play within. You know, like all good games, there's rules. Otherwise, it's chaos, right? But within that, you don't know what's going to happen. You know, you know, we all know how a game of football works, but every game of football is unique, but they all work to the same rules, right? So I hate football, by the way. I don't know why I use that as an analogy, but terrible analogy. But so yeah, it's, you know, it's that's the idea. So I create this world effectively, and I'm using my art directional bias, my subconscious bias, all the predilections of, you know, my love of graphic design and film and all these kind of and poetry and books and stuff, and that is kind of in me when I make this stuff. But then I want to be surprised by that system, and that to me is what generative art is. It's not about chaos and randomness. It's about these rules that you create. You effectively art directing with code in a way. That's part of it. But yeah, so that's why it's not random to me. I'm still, you know, working as an artist, but you know, it's working with the machine to create these worlds.
That's a great
kind
answer.
Of makes sense?
Yeah, it does. And Whale Shark actually has a follow-up question. Does Brendan ever feel indebted to his algorithms, or how often is it that he feels his algos could do better? Is it a love-hate relationship?
Well, I've seen, you know, there has been lots of attempts, of course, of algorithms making scripts for movies or music, or, you know, and I'm not saying that, you know, I think eventually we will have algorithms that will make, you know, really good pop music probably and stuff like that. But I think there's always a case for the humanness X factor can't quite understand why it appeals. That kind of element, I think, I would like to think, otherwise I'm out of a job, is you know, is always going to be apparent, is always going to be, you know, that puts something above everything else. But who knows? I think, you know, I can't just, for me personally, I can't just press a button and it makes stuff and I have no input on it. I just, you know, ethically, I can't do that. You know, but we are seeing some amazing AI art that's out there, you know, that is blowing my mind, you know, but it's also the skill of the programmer who actually, like paint, they've weaved that code to do it. So it's not like the AI is just, you know, thought it up from nothing.
Exactly. There's still a person that's behind the code that has the creativity to create the program or create the rules of the game to make it interesting to, you know, generate or play. There's another question from Rune. There's been a result of algorithm that really surprised you? Oh, has there been a result of algorithm that really surprised you? If so, which was it?
I don't know if it's I guess it's an algorithm. I was doing this piece of work for a client who track the position of oil tankers around the world. Well, in fact, any ship. That's a business apparently. I didn't know it was, but it is. And yeah, so I had all this data and I had to do this crazy 8K data visualization of all this movement of these ships around the world. And they gave me the starting point and the end point of the ports, but they didn't give me the whole journey. So I had to work out an algorithm to you know, miss out the landmass, which I eventually did. But before that, I did this really stupid version, which was it just drew lines between the start port and the end port, right? And then I removed all the map because I'm not really into maps. So it made this like piece of graphic design that was made up from the start and end point of all these. Can you imagine these lines connecting each other? And I sent it to the client while I was still trying to work out the land avoidance thing. and I said, look, this is obviously stupid because ships don't fly. So, you know, it's ridiculous. And they came back and said, wow, we love it. They said, no one has ever shown us that. And they said, it's actually really useful for us as a company. And that went on. It was all to do with, there was this big event in Mayfair in London where they were all going to see this thing I'd made. So, but that piece that was kind of ridiculous became the main invite for the event. So normally, now, if you look at it, you know, you think, maybe I should have just thrown it in the bin because it was obviously it's ridiculous, right? And I decided. So and
they loved it.
It teaches me we have to look again at the things on the cutting room floor. We have to look again at the things we often throw away, because in those things that we throw away is often the beauty. So,
amen.
So, you know, so that's what these things teach me. These mistakes that are like, not just mistakes, my stupidness, you know, my.
Oh, you're just like, oh, I think this is a throwaway idea, but here it is.
My naivety.
Like it.
Well, the thing is, though, I looked at it and thought, you know what? It's kind of stupid, but it looks really cool. So, you know, So it's not all about sense. It's about, you know, beauty, really. It's not about logic all the time. It's, you know.
Yeah, or a story or some meaning. I will never forget, I had a teacher in art school that somebody was commenting that my work was like, oh, he's like, I just see design. I don't see the story. It just looks really cool. And my teacher was like, so?
Yeah.
Like he was just like, it doesn't have to mean anything. He's like, I just feel something and I like looking at it, and that's okay. And it just blew my mind. And I think, you know, we could just enjoy things in life. You know,
yeah, exactly. Well, wasn't it Oscar Wilde who said, "All art is useless"? That is the whole point of art. You know, newsflash. You know, all art is useless. That's the whole point of it. It has no use. That's the beauty of it. It's the nonsensical, illogical. Love doesn't make any sense. You know. So, amen to that.
Yeah. So I have another question from Whale Shark for Audrey. What's the current state of generative art in the traditional art markets today, and where do you think it's headed? Is it truly the art most representative of our times? That's a good question.
I almost don't want to speak after Brendan because he's so freaking eloquent, and now I feel like I love listening to you talk for hours. But to answer Wilfred's question, I think that, you know, I think that it's really the very beginning, and I think what's so amazing about the NFT space is that it's allowed a lot of amazing artists, you know, who are coders who may not have been defined as artists previously, to now be able to live and to be known as artists. And so I think that's really the first step that's happened, you know, the acceptance of the overall market for, you know, not just Brendan, but a lot of the other amazing artists within the NFT space to become known as artists and to be accepted as artists. And this is something that's so crazy to me, and I love it so much because I think in the traditional art world, there's kind of like the defined way, defined path to success. You know, it's like you need to potentially be in the right gallery, you have to have the right collectors collect you. And now there's this sort of agency that's given to the world, like where, you know, a 13-year-old on the internet can become defined as an artist without needing to go through these traditional institutions. So bring back to generative art, I think it's a very beginning. I think it's the acceptance of the artist, but I think that a lot of people don't really understand the importance of the art and, you know, why it is so valuable and why it really reflects a lot of our thoughts and anxieties and emotions around the current time. And I think, you know, time is also just such an interesting thought right now, with it becoming faster and faster, with people being online 24/7. So personally, for me, it is generative art. It's so representative of our time, but I'm saying this as like a 20-something-year-old, right? And I feel like people who are a bit who are more traditional collectors, who have not really approached the digital art space before, are just starting to learn that. And I think by, you know, listening to Brendan talk about everything that goes beyond the algorithms, that's, you know, art ultimately is here, as Brendan says, it's like the purpose of art is to elicit emotion, right? It doesn't really have to mean anything for everyone. It just has to mean something for someone. So I think that I think that it's just the very beginning, but I really feel like it will, in just a few years' time, it'll be a whole other world. And I think adding to that, I feel like if I wanted to bring TRLabs' position into this, I think Whale Shark and the Well community knows that we're definitely much more focused on long term. We love the NFT space, and we really believe in the long-term value of digital art and NFT art. You can almost, you know, if we had to compare us to an animal, it'd be like a turtle. You know, we want to take slow steps, be steady, one at a time, but we want to live and prosper for longer. So I really believe in that, and I think that's just the very beginning.
I do too, and I really appreciate that TRLabs has been so thoughtful about the artist experience, the collector's experience, and wanting to make things fair, wanting to make things easy. Although with this code game, it's a little tricky, but I think we've got a lot of smart people in the Whale community and the TRLab community that will figure it out and get a chance to get on the whitelist for this awesome curation. I'm really excited to see the work from other artists in it as well, too. I'm going to share the link again for all the information you need on the whitelist and for getting the ultimate services for your happiness piece.
And Heather, can I also just say as well that TRLab, you know, it's been an absolute pleasure working with them from day one. You know, it's I like to work with people who smile. Whenever I've had Zoom calls with people who literally do not smile, it's been a terrible experience. So
it's very strange.
Which, you know, maybe I'm vacuous to think that, I don't know, or shallow, but that's what works for me. But yeah, since day one they've been fantastic to work with. They've been so professional and just like very strategic and clever, and just so it's been great to work with them. So I just wanted to say that publicly towards
can confirm TRLabs has been an amazing partner with Whale. So communicative, responsive, give notes and let us know what's going on. It's awesome. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, guys. I think, you know, for us, as you said, you know, the artist's experience is really so important to us, and I'm so grateful to have an amazing team that is working every day 24/7, thinking so much about not just TRLab, but what can we do differently, and what can we do creatively that hasn't been done, and most of all, like what can we do to serve our artists and our collectors. So it's, Brendan, it really makes me smile to hear you say that, and we absolutely love working with Brendan. It's just been a joy. I think it's impossible not to smile listening to him.
Oh, pleasure. I need to plug my laptop in. Hang on. Forgot to plug it in. There we go.
I just have to interrupt. Somebody shared a meme with like a AI robot, and it says, they're asking about our God. Just tell them Brendan Dawes generated us.
No, I would get a dog complex and stuff like that. So yeah.
Whale Shark said TRLab is the talk of the town in Hong Kong as well. I had a conversation about them over dinner on Saturday. So
wow,
that's amazing. I'm actually from Hong Kong myself originally. I haven't been able to be back really for a year and a half now since COVID. But it's been amazing seeing, you know, all the new collectors coming into the space. We've had friends and families, collectors who have never been interested in art, go to the digital art fair and be inspired by Rafiq's work and come asking us, like, it's like, who are the artists out there? Who do we want to know? And I think that's also so amazing. It's that it's bringing new people in the art world in a way that has never been possible before.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so excited to see what TRLabs does next, because I think that this curation and the concept behind the curation, what the inspiration is really exciting. And I appreciate that you guys do think differently. I don't think I've seen a group curation done like this on this subject, and I think it just has so many legs. So yeah, I'm really excited. Is there anything else that you want to cover about like the whitelist process while we're here, or should we just have people read for themselves?
I've been getting pings. I think the community has been very smart, and even though Brendan and I feel like we've been a bit sneaky. It seems like people have had it figured out. We've probably read our minds or something ahead of time.
That's why I think there's like a collective unconscious. Like sometimes you just know things. I'm like, how do you know that? I think it's just because you're thinking it and they just know.
Yeah.
And there's definitely been hints dropped already. So, and people just knew it, and it happened to be a coincidence. So that's your hint there.
Really a true coincidence, not planned. But I also want to say one thing is that even though I really love, you know, the unlocking the secret code process, I really do want the focus to be on Brendan and his amazing works. TRLab, we recently just revamped our website, and we have an amazing bio page for Brendan. We also have a Medium article where Brendan answers a couple questions from our team about his artistic process. So I would really, really recommend everyone to read it. I think something that I've been seeing happening in the NFT space is that an artwork becomes known, you know, around its price or its value in that way. But I think there's so much value and so much happiness that comes from getting to know the artist behind the work and getting to know what exactly is in Brendan's brain, as evidenced by our chat just now. So I really want people to, you know, it's so fun to do these community engagements, but ultimately for us, like we feel so lucky to be working with artists. And I think that there's so much more in Brendan's head, and I want to know all about it. And I want people to also be focused on that and the artwork rather than just, you know, the whitelist itself.
Great. And I think that, I mean, there's no whitelist without the artists to, you know, create a need for that. So I love that the focus is on them. And I've also shared the 10-question interview from TRLab's Medium page. I also shared it on Twitch and Periscope. So everyone has it there, but trlab.com, you can go there and look at the artist bios to read more. Can you talk about, I don't know if you're able to reveal any more of the artists who are on this roster for this curation, or?
So the names that have been released are Ash Thorpe, Nest Graphics, PlayStation, Joshua Davis, and Rafiq Anadol. But we do have a few more surprises coming, especially a very awesome first Genesis work of an amazing artist. So please stay tuned for that, because we'll be releasing our artist lineup every week on Monday at 10 a.m. ET.
Great. And this piece, Ultimate Services for Your Happiness, and the 61 of Ones, they're going to release on Friday, October 29th at what time?
At 10 a.m. However, having said that, the whitelist will actually close in just a few hours after the stream today. And if you want to have a chance to be on the whitelist sale does start Thursday at 10 a.m. ET.
Okay. And when you said 10 a.m. it's all Eastern time for the drop. Okay, great.
Yes.
Awesome. And have you got any plans in the future to work with Brendan again?
Oh my God, we would love to. Brendan, please.
Yes.
You know, yeah, of course, I would love that. You know, right now I've just done a piece for, it's all about China for me right now. You know, it's I've actually turned down a few things in China because, you know, they seem to want it like, we want it now, like next week. And it's like, no, I need to take time to make it. But I've just done a piece which is going to be on the biggest outdoor screen in Shenzhen, which will be an auctioned as well. So that I'm excited about that, and various other things that are happening in China for me. So, but yeah, TRLab absolutely would love to, you know, continue this relationship. You know, it's been a great one, but it's interesting, you know, the amount of galleries that are, you know, coming out the woodwork. You know, a lot of them are creating their own platforms. I'm a little bit cautious of who they are and being a guinea pig on some of them.
Yeah.
Because some of them you think, you know, they're about to launch and then it doesn't happen, and they go, oh, we realize the tech is, you know, not quite right. And you're like, okay, you know, don't really want to be a guinea pig on this. So yeah, I need to, it's always important for me to work with the best, as well as supporting, you know, upcoming initiatives and stuff. But yeah, so, and TRLab, you know, is up there for me. You know, my experience has been a great one. So if I can work with them again, absolutely.
Amazing. Yeah. That's exactly what we wanted to hear. And, you know, we are exploring a couple pretty interesting opportunities in terms of one-of-a-kind collaborations for next year. And Brendan would be on the top of our list for any future collaborations we do.
And I think we need to shout out, Audrey, to Roni, don't we?
Oh, yes, for sure. So Roni unfortunately couldn't join us today. Roni Pirovino, he's actually a curator for this drop, and we were very fortunate to be connected to him through Ash Thorpe. And, you know, Roni has done amazing work in terms of curation for the space, and he really helped us with Brendan with finalizing a lot of the writing to do with the project description. If you go into TRLabs Discord and also on our social channels, Roni had written an amazing description about the entire project and how the artworks relate to the book. We were so grateful to find Roni because we were very fortunate to be working with this many artists, but we also wanted to find someone who was a curator who had the perspective to bring all the artworks together with what's happening with the book. And Roni's definitely going to be stopping by with some of our future project showcases, but just wanted to give him a huge shout out here because he's also been amazing to work with.
Yes, so looking forward to tell him in person that I think his curation has worked beautifully so far, and I'm really excited to see who else is on the roster, and excited to see the work that's coming up. So once a week, they're going to be announcing every Monday who the new artist is, and how many artists are there total?
That hasn't been revealed just yet.
Oh, okay, more secrets. Okay, so
TRLab are the most secretive organization, apart from the CIA, that I've ever worked with. So, you know.
I don't know. Whale is up there too. Whale Shark does a lot of blink.
Well, yeah. Whale Shark is up there for sure.
We're as transparent as we can be.
Yeah,
but yeah, lots of winks.
Likewise. we're I would like to call ourselves mysterious, but transparent when we. I hope transparent enough.
Yes, I would say mysterious, but definitely transparent, and have integrity in all you do. And that's why we really enjoy working with you, and really excited to see what you're doing in the future, because no matter what you do, you always have a sense of integrity about what you're putting out there for everybody in the process. So I really appreciate that. And just wanted to call that out.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that. And, you know, we're so grateful to everyone in the NFT space. Whale Shark has been so supportive of us from the get-go. And, you know, all of our collectors, all of the people who are actively participating in our book clubs, it's just so awesome to be in such a welcoming space where, you know, people really care about learning and people really care about helping each other. So just really grateful to be here. And I think a lot of what we do is thanks to the people who support us.
So true. Brendan, do you have anything else you want to share before we go?
No, I'm trying to think, actually. I think, you know, it's been, I think it's one of the most exciting drops I've been involved with, to be honest, because, you know, it's, as we all know, NFTs is a very community-driven thing. And it's been amazing to see the, you know, the clamor for this drop over, you know, the TRLab have done a wonderful job of building this community. You know, I've seen other organizations try and do this and fail because it wasn't natural. You know, it was very forced. TRLab haven't done that. They really know how to build this community. Obviously, with I think and Whale community has been helpful in that as well. So, yeah, that's what's been fascinating to me. You know, it's kind of overwhelming at times. You know, I'm getting pings and, you know, people saying, "Well, what's the code?" And like, I don't know the code. You know, it's like I don't know it either. So don't. I mean, not just on Discord, but on Instagram, Twitter. You know, I'm getting these weird messages. You know, it's. So yeah, I do not know the code, so do not ask me. Yeah, so I love all that, you know. It's and the reaction to the work has been, you know, you do this stuff, and you think, you know, I'm my own biggest self critic. You know, I think everything I do is terrible. So you know, I put it out there and think, oh, maybe it's okay, you know, and then. You know, people like you, Heather, you saw this, you know, the glittery thing, which didn't even cross my mind, and that so people bring stuff to it, which is lovely to see. So yeah, and I'm just interested to hopefully people you know, the ones that really want the work can get it. You know, it's always.
Yes.
I had a nifty drop last week, and you know, it was all like, oh, I didn't manage to win. I had friends of mine who.
Well, really Shark is sad.
Yeah.
He said I've not been able to win a Brendan auction lately. It's been painful.
Yeah.
You're in high demand.
Well, you know, at least Whale Shark is leaving some scraps for everyone else occasionally. You know, it's there. You know, that was one of the big complaints from people. It's like, God, Whale Shark.
He has all of Brendan's pieces.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No,
I want one.
Yeah. So he's allowing a few people to play now, which is nice. But yeah, it's been crazy. It's been an honor to, you know, to do this. So yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Amazing. Well, thank you both for your time and energy today. It's been really a pleasure talking with you both about this amazing drop and this series that is going to be going on for quite some weeks. So yet to be revealed number, which is exciting. So it looks like we're going to have some beautiful work to feast our eyes on every week, every Monday. And don't forget the drop for Ultimate Services for Your Happiness is happening October 29th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So stay tuned. Take care, everybody, and have a magical day. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. And thanks to Heather, too, for moderating.
Yes, thank you, Heather.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.